Hi guys, so I am doing a Meet the Owner interview with Peter, the owner of this Toyota Celica GT4 Carlos Sainz edition. Say hi, Peter.
Hi, everybody.
So we're just going to go through and ask Peter a bit about his ownership of the car, how he's used it, maintained it, that kind of thing, and what attracted him to it in the first place, and then just find out why he's selling it. So to start off with, Peter, how long have you owned this car for?
I had to look this up, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
I bought it the back end of '95 from a garage in London called the Checkered Flag, who specialised in sort of high-end sports cars.
Okay, yeah, sure. So yeah, that's a very very long ownership, which is why you had to look it up because it's such a long time ago. What sort of attracted you to the this particular model in the first place, then, Peter?
I owned a yellow bog standard Toyota Celica.
Okay,
And I decided when I was with British Caledonian as a pilot in those days, we were taken over by British Airways, and my salary went up commensurate. And I decided then I could afford to buy a car that I found really interesting, and that was the Carlos Sainz GT4. So I traded my one in and got the GT4.
cool. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a similar story to when I bought my first performance car as well. Actually, just had a nice bonus from work, and then I felt like I wanted to spend it on a performance car. So yeah, that makes sense. And in your sort of ownership, then, Peter, how have you used the car? What sort of things have you used it for? Have you done any long trips in it, or taken it to shows, that kind of thing?
Right. I'm doing it back to front. The only shows I've gone have been the classic show at Goodwood.
Okay.
And I would drive down there and park it amongst all the other um, overwhelming cars that were there. But other than that, no, as I mentioned, I flew for British Airways. I was long haul with them on their jumbo fleet. So 80% of the car's mileage that I put on, I can't speak for about the 25 or 30,000 that were on it when I bought it. But the mileage that I put on was mostly driving from my house in Lingfield through to Heathrow, where we, of course, were in an underground car park up there. So that was the majority. I retired in effectively 01 after doing 5 years with Cathay after I left British Airways. And then following that, the mileage I put on is very low.
Yeah, just using it locally.
Yes, shopping, giving it the odd run just to give it a bit of a blip with Zoe if it's a nice day.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. And then, in your ownership, how have you sort of kept up with the maintenance of the car? How have you had
It's
it
been,
maintained?
in the early days, it was recommended that it was oil changed every 6 months, which I did, which is why there's so many. When you look at the paperwork, you'll see there's a fistful of garages involved. And the reason is that every 6 months required an oil change. And then latterly, when we went to more modern oils, I then went to annual. And then thereafter, it's been fully serviced whenever something, certainly in the last 10 years, which is probably the most important in its oldest, I've had a bloke who's become almost a friend now who's looked after it. And whenever I've had weird and wonderful problems, like I had a problem with the ECU, which is quite common in GT4s,
Okay.
you'll see a string of them on the internet that are broken because of ECUs. And he actually managed to refurbish the ECU for me. So my ECU is virtually, as far as you can, brand new. And it's brilliant. He did a brilliant job. So whenever he said, Peter, this needs doing, I'd say, fine. It's
Cool.
my toy. I love it. I took it in. It would get fixed.
Good stuff. Okay. Yeah. And then, just thinking about some other things that we've talked about when we initially consigned the car for sale with us. It's got two sets of wheels, so maybe just tell us a little bit about the wheels that are pictured on the car. They're not the ones it originally came with, but they are linked to sort of Toyota's rally heritage.
Right. You'll find that if you look at the pictures, there's two sets of wheels that I took pictures of. One is the original wheels, which of course I've still got in my garage and will go with the car, although the tyres are blown, as you'd expect after so many years. Basically what happened is when I was flying for Cathay, the simulator we used was down near Horsham. And I drove up one day, and the engineer I was with that day happened to run the website for MGs. And when we went in the sim, he said, "You've got a Carlos Sainz." I said, "Yeah, it is." He said, "Do you want the original rally wheels for that?" And I went, "Well, yeah, but they'll cost me a fortune." He said, "No, I'm pretty certain a mate of mine who owns Maglite, which was down it still is in Malmesbury, but it's been relaunched as another company. I'm pretty certain there's a guy down there who's got 4 brand new, unused rally wheels." So I phoned the guy up. He thought I was bullessing him. And he said, "Come on down." I said, "Well, how much do you want?" He said, "Well, if you've got the car you say you've got, I'll sell it for a reasonable price." So I asked my son if he wanted a journey. We popped down to Malmesbury. I walked into his office, and he had the 4 alloys sitting in front of his desk as sort of an artistic design. And I said, "How much do you want for them?" "You'll see it's in the paperwork, what I paid." And he let me have them at a knockdown price. But at the time, I was told those were the rally wheels fitted to the Carlos Sainz when it was rallied. Although since then, you had advised me that may not be the case. We're not sure.
Yeah.
I know they're magnesium. They're unbelievably light. They're a bit flashy. And I decided to sell them with the car rather than separately. I thought the items should come together.
Yeah, it's nice, especially given that that's the way that you've enjoyed the car for so long as well. So it's nice that then the new owner's going to be able to experience it in the same way. And then, Peter, so now we've you've consigned the car for sale with us. So what's your reason for sale?
Well, the first reason is I'm 74, rolling 75. My son is 36, 37, is not interested in cars. He's running around in a Ford of some sort. And although he'll go with me to these things just to keep me happy,
yeah.
I said, "Do you want the car?" He said, "No, not interested. You might as well sell it." And I've reached the stage when I want to sell it. It's not fair on the car. The car sits now in the I think I've done 1,200 miles in the last year.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so that sort of that makes sense. Not using it as much and want it to go to a new home. So that's hopefully something that we will help you find, and that's cool. And I guess I think that's all the information we need for now. I think that gives a good overview of your ownership of it and the car, the maintenance, etc., how you used it and what attracted you in the first place. Have a look, guys, at the other videos in the playlist. So Peter has very kindly done a exterior review video as well as interior, so you can see the car inside and out. So take a look at those, and any questions that you might have around this car, then pop them on the listing, and Peter, when he gets a chance, will help answer them. So thanks very much for your time, Peter.
My pleasure, and all the best, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Great, thanks very much.